Horror Island. He looked at the will that the lawyer handed him. In a broken but large handwriting, the will read, "I leave all my worldly possessions to my nephew, Rex Burton. These include a piece of paper, a piece of glass, and the island of Drago, more commonly known as the Isle of Death. I am to be buried on my island. It is there that I will live forever." Death instantly followed the writing of the will, for the signature trailed off into a meaningless scribble. Rex looked up at the lawyer, who was nervously zipping his case together. "What do you make of it?" "I have no opinion, Rex. I'm only supposed to see that you get what your uncle willed you." "Look, Bill, you were the closest to my uncle. You took care of all of his affairs. I want you to tell me what he meant in this will. I know he was eccentric, but what is all this business about this Isle of Death and living on forever?" The lawyer saw that Rex was determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, so he sat down, wiped his forehead, and in a weak voice began to relate all that he knew. "As you said, Rex, your uncle was eccentric. When he moved to this island, he brought with him a tremendous library on magic and superstitions. After some time, the natives of the island began to leave. As they put it, the spirit of death walked the paths of life. They said that because at times they would find the bodies of their friends or of animals in the forest, and there would not be a mark on the corpses. Every time a body would be found, a long, spine-chilling scream would come from the forest. Finally, the natives blamed everything on your uncle and gave the island the name the Isle of Death. Soon, all life left the island. Even the animals disappeared. Suddenly, one day, I got a call from your uncle. When I arrived, he told me he was going to die and he wanted to draw up a will. Then he told me something that made my blood freeze. He said that when you read a certain piece of paper, you would be able to bring him back to eternal life." By now, the lawyer had been so weakened by the thoughts of horror racing through his mind that he sank back into the chair and closed his eyes. Rex, always eager to get involved in some unusual adventure, took the piece of paper and said to the lawyer, "In other words, Bill, if I can make sense out of this paper, I can bring my uncle back to eternal life?" Rex Burton's eyes gleamed in their sockets, and the lawyer thought he was looking at a madman. "You can't take this seriously, Rex," blurted out Bill. Rex had been studying the piece of paper, and after a few minutes of dead silence, he answered the lawyer's questions with, "I have it, Bill. Now I can bring my uncle back from the dead." With these words, he wheeled around and ran out of the room. "He's as mad as his uncle was. Good heavens, he's probably going to the island now. But he can't. That whole area is being lashed by electrical storms." Bill stared at the wall. Could this actually be happening? A few hours later, Rex was staring at a wall. In this wall lay the body of his uncle in a coffin of stone. Rex glanced at the paper and, in an eerie light of a lone candle, raised up his arms and shouted, "I am here, Uncle! Eternity shall be yours!" The paper had told Rex that if he held the glass in such a way as to let the rays of a lightning bolt come through and shine upon the stone coffin, his uncle would come back to life. The lightning flashes were coming more often now. Rex decided it was time. He pulled the coffin away from the wall and then held up the glass so that the next bolt would send its light streaming through it. The flash of lightning came and seemed to explode in the room with a blinding light. The glass caught some of this light and cast a beam onto the coffin. At first, nothing happened. Then, the top of the coffin began to slide away. Something was moving the lid. Rex stood rooted to the ground. The lightning and thunder combined to drown out the scream of the man as he saw something rise from the coffin. Then there was a gigantic roar, and the building in which the tomb lay crumbled and crashed down the slope on which it was built. It buried the fear-shattered man and the coffin of the old Burton under tons of stone. The constant beating by the storms had worn away its foundation and had sent it smashing down into the forest. and in between the booming of the thunder and the flashing of the lightning, the forest echoed and re-echoed with the shrill cry of some unknown being.